Nice to see everybody again. I always feel like I owe the president a membership fee, you know, like this. Can I start by asking you a question? I want to know how many of you feel you've ever made a mistake when giving your presentation or speech. Have you ever made a mistake when you gave your presentation or speech? Is that pretty much everybody? Okay, some of us are flawless, that's okay. not all diamonds are perfect. Today I'm going to talk about the biggest of those mistakes. The biggest mistakes presenters make. Would that be an interesting thing to discuss today?
Yes.
Would you like to know how other people are screwing up? Very good. Would you also like to know how other people in this room have screwed up?
Yes.
Okay, let's start there. Turn to the person next to you and tell them how you screwed up in a presentation or a speech, a mistake you made that in a presentation or a speech at some point. Just tell them what that was. Don't have to tell them the whole story. Just tell them what you think was the mistake you made. You know, wasn't that, oh, I forgot my line or whatever. Just tell them a mistake that you made in a presentation at some point. Go on, I'll give you 15 seconds to tell them, and they will tell you. Okay, very nice. Please give your partner a round of applause. Would someone mind sharing a mistake that either they made, or if their partner is okay with it, tell what the mistake your partner made in the presentation? Let's see what we have, what level of mistake we have so far.
I want to share my mistake.
Yes.
Okay, because this is considered as epic because I was selected to host an event.
Okay. What's the mistake first?
I mispronounced the name of the VIP who's supposed to present, which is very funny because you're expected to pronounce it well.
Is this a mistake that anyone can make?
Yes.
Even me?
Yes, but that was prepared.
Yeah. So, okay, mispronouncing the name of a VIP or a name of the speaker, if you're the MC, you don't want to mispronounce it, but it happens, right? Always happens. Very nice, thank you. Anyone else? What else? Yes?
I want to comment on the mistake I reckon you made.
Yes.
Because you
but actually we're interested in the mistake you made.
Because just now you started off by you started off by asking us to talk to the person that's next to us, to ask that person, or to comment about a mistake that the other person has made. The next sentence was to talk about a mistake that you have made. So that got us all confused.
My instruction was not clear, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Was it clear?
No. That's
a mistake. What should I have asked? Tell the person next to you about a mistake you made. That was what I was asking. Was that not what I asked?
Yes.
That's what I asked.
No, not initially.
Oh, really?
The initial sentence wasn't that.
Oh, okay. Very good. But so giving an if you're in training, giving an instruction that is unclear is a mistake, right? Yeah. Do you want to make these kind of mistakes on a regular basis? No, you want those corrected. Any other mistakes? Thank you. Any other mistakes? Yes.
My common mistake is sometimes I want to say he, then I will say she.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an error of grammar, isn't it? And of course, grammar is not how correct your English is. Grammar is how habitually you get it wrong. That's what people pick up on, right? How on your grammar habits. All right, we often think of grammar as being a skill that we have. Actually, grammar is a collection of habits. It's the mistakes that we repeat all the time because you find yourself doing it all the time, right? Yeah, I think you're not the only one. You know, loads of people do that. This is a common mistake, not so much in the Western world, but certainly out in Malaysia and probably in the East, if we're speaking the second language, right? Very nice. So we've got poorly given instructions. We've got grammatical habits that are wrong. We've got mispronunciation of someone's name, not just mispronunciation of a word. So what if you mispronounce a word? Mispronouncing someone's name, that's a little bit more serious, right? Any others? We'll take one more. Who's got another one? Mistake that you've made in the presentation.
Couldn't stop laughing.
So you were giving a presentation and you couldn't stop laughing.
You're laughing at it.
Okay.
Because there are something pop up and keep laughing, then I can't stop myself.
Is this a case of sendiri laugh, is it?
It's like, yeah, it's a new laugh. Then I can stay there at least. Because I was embarrassed, then I do not know how to. So it's not.
So Fabian even knows why. I mean, I think this brings us nicely into the mistakes, because we're going to talk about the mistakes, but more importantly, would you like to know the why or even the fix for the mistake?
Yes.
Yeah, so talking about the mistakes is one thing, the why and the fix, also good to know, right? Okay. If you knew what the biggest mistakes were, I just want to gauge this audience, please. If you knew what the biggest mistakes were, do you think that would help you as a speaker? Do you think that you might be guilty of making some pretty big mistakes? Because I haven't shared with you what the biggest ones are, but do you think you're guilty of some pretty big mistakes as a speaker?
There's a chance.
There is a chance. If you see yourself in the mistakes that we'll discuss, feel free to admit it, because acknowledgement is the very first step towards solving the problem. Okay. Now, habits, I can't help you with habits. That's a whole different thing. But today we'll talk about some of the mistakes. The biggest ones, I think there are 12 really big ones, but I don't have time for 12. How about we try to hit maybe the top 3 or something? Shall we do something like that? The top 3 biggest mistakes. What do you think one of the top 3 biggest mistakes are that a presenter makes? What do you think? Is it in giving the instruction incorrectly? Is it in pronouncing the name incorrectly? Is it in getting the grammar upside down? Are these the really big mistakes that a presenter makes?
No.
What do you think are the big mistakes a presenter makes?
Not
One of the top 3, what do you think?
Not well.
Not well prepared. Put up your hand if you know what she's talking about. Yeah, not well prepared. Someone just now came to me and said, I didn't prepare. I mean, so, but that's not uncommon, right? It's not uncommon. We do that all the time. I would say, yes, that is a legitimate mistake. That one has not made it to my top 3. It hasn't made it to my top 3. And I can tell you why offline, okay? What else, what do you think is a really big mistake? Imagine you're sitting in a presentation and a presenter is boring, right? Have you sat through anything that's boring?
Yes.
Yes. In fact, 80% of the stuff you sit through is probably boring. Do you think the presenter has made a mistake in not making it interesting somehow?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to know how that mistake came about? I think it'd be useful to know. Would it be useful to know how not to bore an audience?
Yes.
Yeah. Would it be also useful to know how to give the audience a sense of maybe intrigue? Would it be nice if you sat in a presentation and you were intrigued by what was about to be presented?
Yep.
Yeah? That little bit of, enigmatic mystery, right? Nice. It's nice. How about a presentation that delivers all the information that you need to know? Is that nice?
Mm-hmm.
How about a presentation that delivers all the information that's available on the topic? Is that nice?
Yes.
Wow. Think about it for a minute. All the information that's available on a topic, boom, there it is. You've got it. Interesting? Imagine. I get some people going, yeah, nice, but you're saying, no, say why, please.
Because if all you do is provide facts
Yes.
in a very boring, way, which facts
In a factual way, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And don't inject humor or real life situations and stuff like that into it, then there's no point in giving me all the facts because I would have not paid attention, 20 minutes ago or 5 minutes into your
So more data equals more understanding?
No.
No, right? Listen to this pointer. More data does not mean more understanding. Does more data mean more learning? No. From the same logic, it doesn't necessarily mean more learning. So if more data doesn't equal more learning and more understanding, how is it that you have sat through, right? And I'm going to make an assumption here, but I think it's fair enough, that you've sat through presentations in which it's data, 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 data. On one slider, you have half of the internet's information on this subject all on one slide now. You've seen presentations like that where the slide has got so many words on it that you haven't even got a clue where to begin. You've seen stuff like that, right?
Yes.
That's the number one thing on the list that I want to highlight. There are many, many mistakes presenters make. I want to highlight this one as being very possibly the biggest. And that is, the presenter thinks their data or their information is the most important thing for those 20 minutes. And some of you might be wondering, but it is the most important thing for those 20 minutes. If it's not the data, then what? I tell you what, if I want data, I don't have to listen to your presentation. You know why? Google. I have Google. Before Google, I have Yahoo. For a couple of decades now, we've had access to any information that we could possibly get our hands on. We don't need your presentation. So the question is, why the presentation? Or what is the function of the presentation? This is a mindset thing we're talking about here. What is the function as a speaker, as a presenter? What is the function of my talk? You have to ask yourself this question, because if you can answer this question, you will not make this mistake. What do you think the function of a talk is then? What would it be? Lizelle's just delivered a research topic project, right? So her job was to give us data. But in every presentation, whether the job is to deliver data or not, what is the real job of the presenter, the human being that stands at the front? What is their job?
Message.
What do you think?
Message.
The message, yes. What else?
Persuade.
To persuade, yes. What else? To make it interesting, yes. Anything else? To entertain. So our persuasion, delivering a message, to make something interesting, are these functions of data?
No.
Data doesn't help any of this, right?
No.
These are what I call human functions. Not the human functions that you teach your children on, but your human functions. The purpose of the presenter is so that he or she can deliver to a room full of human beings. That's the purpose. Deliver a message, or possibly, hopefully, that is entertaining and interesting. That's the function. So as a speaker, how many of you have been worried about your information before you came up to speak? Are you worried about that you have nothing to say, like table topics, even table topics, the biggest fear is you worry that you have nothing to say. You worry you have no data, right? You worry you have no information. Well, guess what? You're worrying about the wrong thing. You're worrying about the wrong thing. Mindset, this is the mindset. Hopefully you'll be aware of a shift in the mindset. You worry about the data. This is the number one mistake that presenters make, that you worry about the data. What should you worry about instead? Or, to be grammatically correct, who should you worry about instead?
The audience.
The audience. You worry about the people who are going to receive what you're about to say. You all follow me so far?
Yes.
You worry about whether or not people get it, whether they understand it. You worry about that. If you worry about your data, it's going to be a problem. Okay? Because you will lose your audience. Too much data equals too little engagement. Let's put it that way. All right? Your job is to be engaging. Your job is to be what? Engaging. Okay? If they want information, they want data, they can Google. Doesn't mean you don't present anything. But it means you get your priorities a little different than how everyone else out there is making the presentations. Okay? That's one. We got time for another one? Okay, let's do another one. This is a failure of... Okay. I think one of the biggest mistakes that are obvious is in the opening of a presentation. All right? The opening of the presentation, the first 3 seconds of your speech will determine and set the tone for the rest of it. Okay? In the audience's mind, we're talking about now. In the audience's mind, in their hearts, they're going to quickly make an assessment of whether or not this talk is going to be useful, entertaining, whether the message is going to be there. They're going to make assessments about all these things in the first 3 seconds. They're going to, I know in Toastmasters we allow the person to speak for 5 to 7 minutes, but in the real world, you've got 3 seconds to make your impression. So why are openings so badly done? Right? Would you like to make a better opening in your next speech?
Yes.
An opening that in 3 seconds people know what you are about and whether you are competent, qualified to not only deliver the information but interesting enough for them to listen to. Would you like that in your next speech?
Yes.
Yeah, this is what you'd like to do, right?
Yep.
Work on the opening. The opening. There are many ways to open. Anyone want to give an example of one way to open that's interesting? A story? Okay, now a story takes longer than 3 seconds usually. So I would, based on that criteria, I would keep the interesting story for a bit later. What you want is more of a hook, okay? A hook is where the fish bites and in 3 seconds the guy is caught. You understand what I'm saying? It's not something where you present the fish a logical argument and the fish goes, okay, I'll bite. No, this one, wow, the thing is wiggling bite. So it's the wiggling thing. That sounds horrible. Dangle the wiggling thing in the first 3 seconds and let the fish bite. You might want to think in terms of what can I say that's intriguing? Is intrigue a good wiggling thing? Yes. Sorry to use language like this, but you all know what I mean, right? Intrigue, mystery. How about something that's shocking? Is that a good wiggling thing? Captures attention? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I can give you an example a little later in the evaluation of a wiggling thing that as an alternative to the way you opened. Yeah. Openings. Failure to engage in the opening. How many of you think that it's your story that will engage the audience? Just be honest with me. How many of you think that you got the story to engage the audience? When you give a presentation. Yeah, well, how many of you think that, it's, the information that you have that's going to engage the audience? None of this is going to engage the audience. None of it. It's you that will engage the audience. When I say you, I don't mean you just stand up there and you're engaging. Some people are endowed that way, not others are. You and how you think is going to engage the audience. Open with a question. Would that be engaging?
Yes.
Depending on the question, of course. But yes, that's a possibility, right? How many of you would like to correct the biggest mistakes in your next speech? There's a question. If you formulate a question, it's nice if you formulate a question that's simple to understand and has a single answer for 80% of the people. What would the answer be that I'm looking for? Yes, I'm looking for a yes. How many of you have ever made a mistake in your speech? The answer would be yes for 80% of the people. Okay? A nice simple one. Don't ask how many of you have ever given a perfect speech. Why? Because the answer is across the room will be no. In other words, you fail to engage your audience. When by engagement, okay, let me demonstrate the engagement of how many of you have ever made a mistake in a speech? Raise your hands. Did you see the engagement? Physical engagement. Physical engagement. The right question with the answer being yes for most people, and you get the physical engagement. Okay? This is how you open. You can put out a statistic that will shock people, also can. You know, 81% of breakups still have sex after they break up. Really? And if that's not enough of a shock, that means, out of this room, you count how many people are, out of this room, 21 of you are still having sex with your ex. You make it real for the audience, right? Make it real for the audience. Don't go too real and then identify who is who. Okay. Well, you know, those two are. If you get those two things sorted out, that data is not the most important thing, but engagement is, and you engage in the very first 3 seconds, if you get those two mistakes sorted out, you will cover almost all other mistakes can be forgiven. He, she, all can be forgiven. Mispronunciations, even instructions that are not so easily understood, all of that can be forgiven if you do these two things correctly. You guys okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very nice. I'll leave it there. Thank you.